even saw the kids. I looked at the building. So my husband works at Wells Fargo. We got 50 volunteers from Wells Fargo. I went around and gave out flyers. Hopefully many of you got them on your boxes. We had a cleanup day. We had Wells Fargo people, we had parents, we had community members. We painted, we moved mulch, we swept, we cleaned up. We did a lot of things to make the school look nice. Because if I wouldn't send my kid there, I wouldn't have him there. If I wouldn't put my kid in that child's classroom, in that teacher's classroom, I wouldn't put your kid in there. So please take a look at the changes that we've made and our high expectations. If you can, stop in and volunteer. I have some brochures for you. I also have my business card. And toward that end, I know that you are having some difficulty in the neighborhood with some vandalism and such. If you see anything going on with any kind of children, please call me immediately. I already visited the hardware store down the street to make sure that we knew that we are a community and we have to take care of everyone together, which leads me to my last point, and I'm just going to leave you with a funny story. I went into a 5th grade classroom and I said, you know what, we need to take care of everybody because we're a community and we're like a family, so we're all working together. So if you see someone get hurt, you need to reach out to them. If you see somebody who needs you, you reach out. And one little boy raised his hand and he said, excuse me, Mrs. Conway, metaphorically that would make you my mother, right? And I looked at him and I said, you really think I'm old enough to be your mom? And he goes, oh. I go, good, good. You didn't say grandma. So that gives you an idea of the kind of students we have at Mann School. So please don't discount them by what you see on the outside. Come on in and take a look at the inside, because metaphorically, yes, I am their mother now. So I'm going to leave this stuff for you. Please feel free to drop by at any time. It was very nice to meet you all, and very nice to see all of you come out and care about your community. So have a nice evening.
Hey, Jake. Jake Hafner.
All right.
Well, it's kind of hard to follow that, but I think that brings up a very important thing about community, and that's kind of what we're all here for. I'm opening a microbrewery. It's a 3714 Volt. Before this, I owned 33 Wine Shop and Tasting Bar, which is in Lafayette Square. Did that for 9 years. I sold that. Last year, I traveled for 7 or 8 months and spent some time in Europe, a lot of time in bars. And trying to bring the best of what I saw and the best of what I've been to and bring it to this neighborhood. And, this is such a great neighborhood. There's so many great people here, and I've been really warmly received, and that's the most important thing. But just like everybody, I want to be a good neighbor. And we're going to do a tasting room. We're not really going to be it'll look like a bar, but we'll close about 8 o'clock on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Fridays. And Saturdays we'll probably be open like 12 to 5. It'll be a place that you know, you can walk down and have a beer or something, or read a book, or you know, just a place to kind of share your life for a little bit and, you know, head on home. We'll make some great beers, there's no doubt about it. That's the main reason why I'm getting into this. We'll distribute our beers throughout the St. Louis area, and eventually we hope to move outside of this region, just depending on how fortunate we are. So I think that's mostly it. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer any questions, but you're on hold? Okay. We're on hold. 3714 Volt is between, well, it's closest to Chippewa. So it's right in the industrial street there. So we're the warehouse is right in the middle of it. So the storage place is directly across the street from us. Yep. So we got a nice big area in the front that we're going to have kind of an outdoor beer garden in. So. Yes, it was. Yes, years ago it's a bakery. It's been years ago. So, it's been a manufacturing place. Yeah. I'm a little newer to the area. I had found all that out when I was researching the building. I'm not working with Kevin. I'm not sure. Not yet, maybe. I'm not sure. No, but I do have a brewer and some. Brewer and another person that's going to start with us. There'll be 3 of us when we start, and then we'll expand as we need people.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know. I'm sorry if you said this. I didn't hear when you said you're opening.
Well, it'll probably, I didn't mention it yet. We're working with the architect this next week. We've gutted most of what needs to be done on the interior of the building. I suspect once we get the architect's plans down to downtown, I suspect it'll take maybe 5 or 6 months from that point. Could take us up to 4 months just to get our brewery equipment in, because some of that has to be shipped from all around the country. So.
Serving food?
It'll be very limited food, so we'll probably do more something like a Friday afternoon barbecue kind of thing. But we won't have it won't be be a full restaurant by any means. We're just going to do, it'll be a place to kind of come and taste what we're doing, see what we're doing, you know, relax for a little bit, and, you know, and I've worked late for many years, and I'm going to leave earlier from now on, so that's kind of the reason behind this. So, but I hope you do all stop by, and I'm a very accessible person. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to talk about, you know, the project at any length with you. So, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Jake. Next, Rachel with the Circuit Attorney's Office is going to tell us all about the Court Watch program.
Good evening. I brought 30 copies, so hopefully I have enough. If not, I will get it out and you guys can email it out. It's kind of just a little handout. We've done this talk for several groups that are interested in forming their own Court Watch. You guys, and I'm going to give a couple people some. We might hand them around. Alright, I will try to speak up. I'm used to talking to big rooms with bad acoustics like in the courtroom, so. But if you're in the back and you can't hear me, just yell, okay? Your concerns about safety in the city. And throughout the years, they planned different responses. And as we've gone through the years, it became quickly apparent that most citizens do not know or understand the court system that has a huge impact on their safety. And so we're often called and asked about, hey, what is Court Watch, or how do I get a better response from the Circuit Attorney's Office or from the courts? And so what Jennifer has had me and some members of the office do is put together a little handout that we kind of call Criminal Law 101. Because what we don't do is tell a neighborhood what's important to them. We can't. And what we don't do is tell you how you should respond to a situation. So I can't tell you what is important to you, and I won't. And I can't tell you how you can respond. What I can do is tell you what the system is in place, and what others have done to deal with crimes in their neighborhood. So, and then the third thing I can do is once you as a group decide what's important to you and kind of how you want to approach it, I can provide somebody within our office to work with you, to educate you, and to give you access to the court system at the state level so that you know and understand what's pending from your community in the circuit courts. All right? So what I will do is kind of start out and do kind of a brief overall. And forgive me if this is information you already know, but oftentimes people are very surprised at some of the stuff I give them. How many fans in here of CSI and Law and Order? Any big fans? All right. All right. Guess what? None of that applies. Sadly, what you see on TV is great Emmy award-winning stuff. All right. The same year Buffy the Vampire Slayer won for Best Science Fiction Show, it shared that award with CSI. Okay, so that information that you come to it thinking what the police can do and what the prosecutor can do, unfortunately really doesn't happen, all right? But what does happen, and what I have seen very effectively happen, is when people work together with their police officers and with their prosecutors, they, over time, affect change. Lafayette Square last December was really, really angry and frustrated over a series of robberies, of muggings of people outside the businesses, some home invasion burglaries where teenagers from one of the local public housing authorities were coming into Lafayette Square, kicking in the doors and stealing from people. And they called our office because we hadn't prosecuted. They were outraged. How could this person not be held accountable? How could you not charge? So last January, I went to that meeting and I said, look, the definition of that type of crime is this. And they were stunned because what they thought had applied and was in common sense was not the law. And they took that information and they formed a group, very small, that regularly watches the offenders from that neighborhood. They work closely with their public affairs officer, and they get a list of the arrests. Seriously, I have the people in Lafayette Square and several neighborhoods on speed dial. I get calls all the time saying, hey, the police officers just caught Benny Culpepper again. Remember, he's that kid that was kicking in the doors? I'll say, okay, we'll flag it in the warrant office. If it comes in, if we can do something about it, I'll tell you. If we can't, I will. But I expect you to follow up with letters. And what they've done is they've gradually, over time, gotten to know who are the problem people. They give that information to the police officer, and then they give it to our office, and then they give it to the courts. And what they do is they follow it within the court system, and then they either send a letter from a group, or they show up. And last Friday, they had a real chronic offender identified, Andrew Rush. He'd been on probation 4 or 5 times. They showed up in court on Friday. Our office was saying, Judge, this guy's been on probation several times. Please revoke him. And the judge at that point wasn't sure, because he wanted to give the 19-year-old man another chance, which is a fair response. But when Lafayette Square stood up and said, hey, Judge, I want you to know that Andrew Rush was locked up on an arrest warrant in January. In November, December, our car cloudings were through the roof. He gets locked up and we come in and argue and get his bond held, our car cloudings drop. And since he's been locked up, our car cloudings have been in half. We're telling you he is responsible, he was on probation, and he did these crimes in Lafayette Square. We're asking you to send him to jail. That judge was a good, hard-working judge who cares about the city. When he heard his fellow residents say that, he sent that 19-year-old man to prison for 5 years. Okay, that's power. And that is a letter, that is getting somebody to pay attention and being able to articulate to the judge why it's important to you. Because our office does that every day. It has not 1/10 the impact as hearing that from the people who live there. When I hear from a lady who lives next to a dope house, no, it's not just some kid caught with, a felony amount of marijuana, a dime bag of pot. I have to live there, and I have to see the people go in and out every day, and I won't let my kids play outside. That makes me look at those dope cases in an entirely different way. Because when it's 1 of 5,000, after a while, you look at it away. But when it's the person's lifestyle, that makes you stop and remember why you're doing your job. And that's what Court Watch can do from a neighborhood. You make the courts, who really love this city, all of whom are lifelong residents, and all of whom work really hard to make it a better place, remember why they're doing their job. And so when you're sitting back and you're thinking about crime in the neighborhood, you have to stop and remember that the ability to keep someplace safe and the ability to hold people accountable rests with the people who live there. So let me go through the couple handouts and then I'll answer some questions and kind of give you your options. And then I would really encourage you in a subsequent meeting to talk to the people in Grabway Park, because they started it. The judges jokingly call it a softball team when they show up wearing their t-shirts. Talk to Lafayette Square, really active, engaged neighborhood, and see, hey, how did you do this? How did you pick what was important? And how do you go forward? Because those are the people at the grassroots level who can talk to you about the practicalities. I can give you the law and give you what your rights are. They can tell you how they did it. So I would encourage you, if you're really interested in that, follow up with a community member. But let's kind of go over some criminal law 101 stuff. All right? And again, forgive me if you know all this. But many people tell me they don't. So we've got given you a cheat sheet on the criminal justice system. And this kind of, believe it or not, it took many lawyers many hours to sit and figure out this flow chart. So humor me and watch. All right? It is, you go to law school for these things. You really want to show somebody. In every situation, the criminal justice system turns on the people who either call 911 or work with the police to hold people accountable. It starts with you. It starts with you calling the police. And from there, the police officer solve the case and make an arrest. And they take it one of 3 places. They take it, one of 4 places based on the age of the offender. Let's talk about the simplest one. If the person is under 17, every case, regardless whether it's murder or speeding, goes to the juvenile system. And here in the city of St. Louis, that juvenile system, for which people have rights as victims, is under the control of circuit judges, and that is made